Tell me what happened.
Honestly, he left. I don't really. He had spent the day. He was detailing his Jeep, and he was complaining that he had brake problems. He had just had the routers changed. Yeah, routers on his rear brakes. But he said that they might need to be bled because they were still acting weird. And so he detailed his Jeep, and afterwards he's like, oh, I'm going to bleed my brakes. And he spent like 5 hours on his Jeep. It was driving me nuts because we had a ton of stuff that I needed to get done around the house. And so I was the wife, and I said, hey, knock it off, come inside, help me out. And yeah, then I went inside, and last I saw him, he was sitting on the steps of our front porch. And when he goes off his meds, or whenever he just has his little breakdowns, he's very touchy, certain things he needs to get out. He shuts down, or he doesn't deal with emotion very well. So when he goes to his Jeep, if he's driving, I let him drive. I don't complain, because that's it's kind of therapy to him. So, and he's only gone 1 or 2 hours, never long, never out of contact. So when like 9:30 hit, I started to worry, and I figured he was just still mad at me or whatever, that, I don't know, he just needed to clear his head. I packed the kids up, and I just took him down the road to McDonald's to give him space. I had homework to do anyways, and that way he could come home and relax. And he never showed. I called him. I called from the parking lot. I even called from our driveway. I called the house phone thinking maybe he was home, and he never answered. And so, yeah, I headed back home and figured, okay, well, he'll be home tonight. I just have to go to bed. He'll eventually show up. And I woke up really early the next morning, and he wasn't there. And I started calling every hour, and until his phone was no longer on. And it was the most terrifying experience, because I don't know where he'd go. And everybody asks, well, where does he frequent? We just moved here. It's not like he has regular hangouts yet, so I don't know. And he doesn't really hang out with a lot of people. He doesn't really know very many people because he's always working. So.
What time did you last see him?
About 7 o'clock at night on Saturday.
And that's when you had called him in to do some chores?
Yeah, exactly. We had just gotten a ton of boxes dropped off from my parents, brought down from Massachusetts. So wanted him to go through it and help me haul it to the shed or up to the attic. And yeah, nothing major. And there was no argument, no words exchanged. He just lost it, I guess.
What, is his Jeep gone as well?
Yeah.
Any other items, his cell phone?
His cell phone, yeah, he must have taken it with him, but I don't know, because it hasn't helped in finding him.
Has anything like this ever happened before?
No, not like this. There was a brief period where it was right before we found out that he had a brain injury, that he decided he just kind of needed to check out, but I knew where he went. He kept in contact with me, and he needed to get away from the responsibility, kind of, because he had just come back from his second tour in Iraq, and he went to school, and he came back, and he had all this, a toddler, and he had an infant, and me, and he had just come from 15 months of freedom and then an additional month of school immediately after this deployment. And so he started working with a therapist, though, and within 2 months, he was living back at our house, and this was in Germany. And it's not like this where he's just gone. So this is hard. I don't know.
Can you talk about his brain injury, when he experienced it, and I guess what types of medication he's on?
Yeah, well, it happened in Iraq in 2005. It was actually on his birthday on June 25th of 2005. And he was doing route clearance. He's a 12 Bravo combat engineer. And our unit, I was not on this mission with them. Normally I did go on the missions with them prior service, and this was one that I didn't go on. We weren't together at this time, but I'll never forget, I heard that Larson got blown up, and I was like, what, you know? Because normally he drove the Buffalo, but this time he was driving an RG, I think it was the lead RG, and basically it got real bad. I was actually the mechanic that rebuilt the fuel lines for that RG after that explosion, and it was bad. He had a concussion. I want to say it was a Category 3, but I'm not 100%. But it was bad. And that night they medevaced him to Balad, and I'll never forget, I got a message from him on Yahoo that night, and he was typing all sorts of crazy, and he's like, hey, Beck, my maiden name is Beck, I got blown up, Haji said happy birthday. Oh man, he still had a sense of humor even after all that, you know, and yeah.
So since then, he's been recovering? Is he still in the process of recovering, or how does he cope day to day? Does he need special assistance or medications?
He is on medication. They're always changing it up. I can never really keep track. And I think he keeps it in his Jeep because I never see it. And I think he's paranoid about the kids. But, and he's always gone before I'm awake anyways, so.
What does the medication help him do?
Well, he has one for his concentration, and then he has another, I want to say it's anti-anxiety. It might be an antidepressant though, and sleeping pills, because he has sleeping problems. Yeah, and when he's on them, he's the same man I married, and when he's off them, it's a struggle, you know? You just kind of have to take the good with the bad and remember that he needs to heal. So it's hard. It's definitely hard, and you have to forgive a lot more than you want to. But when he's good, he's great, you know?
Mm-hmm. Do you think he was off his medication at all?
Yeah, I do, because he's just been very touchy. We had our son's birthday last week. He turned 5, and he was so great. He even baked the birthday cake. It was a nightmare. It was cute. It turned out cute, but it was a nightmare. But after that, I don't know, he started having mood swings, but it wasn't anything out of the ordinary, and it wasn't bad. He'd catch himself, or he'd go, he just put new fenders on his Jeep. He went to some off-road shop, and they helped him out, and yeah. So he has his niche to go to whenever he gets this way. But I'm terrified.
What's helping you get through these days?
My kids. Honestly, I have such a great support system here, and I didn't even think I would, but people are coming out of nowhere, and I have some friends from back in Germany that we were stationed with before that have just been awesome. So everybody's just trying to keep me positive, and I'm trying.
That's all you can do right now.
Yeah, it's hard. The kids don't even really realize anything. I mean, they know Daddy isn't home. They keep telling me Daddy's at work. They'll hand me the phone, say, Mom, call Daddy. Or every time the phone rings and we're in the car and it comes over the speakers, they're like, oh, is it Daddy? Especially if it's a male voice, they're, hi, Dad. And it just kills me. Because I don't know what to say to them. I don't want to, they're just too young to understand.
How old are they?
5 and 3.
And then, how long have you been married?
5.5 years.
Any other comments you want to make?
No, I don't think so.